Zach By with you, manning the controls, and I am just thrilled to bring on a guy that I met in the elevator of a casino at Mohegan Sun about a month ago. He is the ESPN basketball insider, one of the lead voices of the mothership when it comes to college basketball, and that is Jeff Goodman. Jeff, how you doing, man?
What's going on? How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Probably better than when I saw you. I think maybe I won some money at that point coming back, but I think I gave it all back the next day.
As did I, and I think you speak for both Roger and I. I got to tell you, Jeff, the first thing I saw when I woke up this morning is Rolly Massimino hit 800 wins, and I got to be honest, I had no idea this guy was still active.
Most people didn't because, he was at a school called Northwood for years here down in Florida. A non-D1, and it actually changed its name to Kaiser a couple of years ago. So it's funny. I got a tip that he was playing for his 800th win last night, and I looked online and I'm like trying to figure out, okay, how many did he get at each school, adding them up. I'm like, that only adds up to 760. So I called his grandson, who I know, Tommy Massimino, who actually is on the staff of the Denver Nuggets, and I'm like, Tommy, all right, help me out here. And he's like, well, when Northwood changed its name from Northwood to Kaiser, they haven't put all those wins in there. So he's going for 800, and he ended up getting it last night. And he's in his 80s, coaching that level of basketball. You got to love it to be able to do that, right? Yeah,
there's no doubt about that. So congrats and a tip of the hat to a legend's legend, Rolly Massimino. Let's move on, though. Villanova, they look terrific. They're the number one team in the land. They have the longest winning streak in the nation. They have a senior-led team, Josh Hart, Chris Jenkins, tremendous. Jeff, since I met you in a casino, I have to ask, if you had to make a bet with your own money, would you lay it on Villanova to cut down the nets once again?
No, I would not. No disrespect to them, but I think, you've got a team that was still brought back a lot of veterans, and those are the teams that tend to do very well out of the gates. I think they have a shot at winning it all again. I just feel like there's teams with higher upsides that are still trying to find their way, whether it's Kentucky with their young guys, whether it's Duke getting healthy and possibly getting the final piece back to their heralded freshman class, Harry Giles, maybe on Monday. They just got back Jason Tatum and Marquise Bolden in the last week or so. So they're still trying to figure themselves out. And Kansas, Bill Self's got to figure out his front line. Those three teams, to me, are still probably a little bit better. And I think Carolina's right there with Villanova. Villanova's a really good team, don't get me wrong. If I were a betting man, I would not, which I am a betting man, just not in college basketball. I would not put my money down on Villanova.
We're talking with Jeff Goodman, ESPN basketball insider here on Big Board Sports. A two-part question for you, Jeff. Who's the best player in the nation, and who has the most potential of any player in the nation?
Yeah, right now the best player has been Josh Hart of Villanova. I mean, he's the early leader here. We're about a third of the way through the season for National Player of the Year, and number one team and the best player on the number one team, and he's a senior. And again, it doesn't surprise me because those freshmen are still trying to feel their way. And one guy who's not feeling his way, who's come out like gangbusters, is UCLA freshman point guard Lonzo Ball. He's been tremendous. He's in the mix. My top three would probably be Josh Hart, Lonzo Ball, and then Frank Mason of Kansas, another senior. So those three would be the three that I think would be in line. The highest upside guy, funny. I mean, to me, the number one pick is still kind of up in the air right now. I talked to a lot of NBA guys, and they don't know who it's going to be. Markelle Fultz is a guy whose name has gotten a lot of play, and he'll be in the equation. He's a freshman at Washington, but the Huskies have been terrible. He's been great, but the Huskies have been terrible. They've lost twice to TCU, once to Nevada, so he probably won't even play in the NCAA tournament, a la Ben Simmons a year ago. So he's one. Dennis Smith at NC State, a freshman point guard, is another. Jason Tatum, who I mentioned at Duke. Giles, if he was ever healthy, would be in the equation. Listen, a healthy Harry Giles would be the best player in the country right now, in my opinion. But he missed his sophomore year with a torn ACL, MCL, and meniscus in high school. He missed his senior year with a torn ACL in his other knee, and then had a procedure about 9 weeks ago that they said was minor that has kept him out for 9 weeks. So a lot of NBA guys are concerned, but I saw him healthy. I saw him in AAU ball, 100 times. And this kid's a beast when he's healthy, and hopefully he can get back out there and be healthy this year.
Man, that's got to be so concerning if you are an NBA team, even with all that potential, as we've seen with a guy like Derrick Rose, that, you do kind of roll the dice on a guy. And if you were one of those teams, is that a guy that you do roll the dice on in Giles?
It depends where. Listen, if he comes back and shows he's healthy and, even plays 20 minutes and averages 10 and 6, I think somebody will take him in the top 5 or 10 if he comes back. And there's a lot on the line here for Harry Giles. The other part that's really going to determine, I think, as much as anything, is the medical evaluations after the year. Maybe when he goes to work out for teams, or if he goes to do the medicals at the combine, he won't play at the combine. It would be what comes back and what doctors are telling each GM. It's different. Like, you could have the same medical report, and doctors could read it differently and say, well, you know what, he's a high-risk guy. Well, another one saying, yeah, you risk it. So it'll be interesting to see, hopefully, if he stays healthy, where he goes in the draft.
We're talking with ESPN basketball insider Jeff Goodman. Jeff, we love to localize things here, and I know that the next two schools I'll ask you about aren't schools that are on your typical beat, but we have two mid-majors right here in our backyard in Siena and Albany. When I throw those two names out to you, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear Siena and Albany?
I mean, listen, both have had good tradition in the past. I know Siena's struggling right now, but it's not like, they haven't had really good tradition, from years ago, certainly, Paul Hewitt when he was there and other guys. So I think it's a program that right now is just trying to figure itself out this year. But again, I mean, they've got the resources, they've got the support, and they've got a coach that honestly might be, if I were ranking the most entertaining coaches, the guys I'd want to just hang out with, Jimmy Patsos would probably be number one. I mean, legitimately number one. He's that much fun to be around. He's crazy in a great way. And Will Brown at Albany has done a tremendous job. One of the more underrated guys out there. I think if I'm kind of surprised that nobody has hired him at a higher level with what he's done at Albany over the years. I mean, you think about it, and again, it's probably not the best job in the league. If you're ranking jobs and resources and everything like that, he's probably they're probably maybe 3. But he finds a way every single year to be in the equation. I mean, 3 straight NCAA tournament appearances there for a little while. Obviously they won the tournament, and that's what it matters. That ultimately at that level, all people really remember is who won their conference tournaments, unfortunately or fortunately.
Yep.
And he had a great year a couple of years ago, and I think they'll be in the equation again. I'm not sure. Vermont's probably the favorite right now, and they should be, but you don't count out Will Brown and Albany.
His name is Jeff Goodman. He's an ESPN basketball insider, does a terrific job. You see him everywhere nowadays, and we really appreciate you taking some time out for us on Big Board Sports, Jeff.
No problem, Zach. Anytime, and hopefully we will run into each other again, and let me know, and I'd love to be on again.
You are the man. Take care of yourself, Jeff.